Welcome everyone. Today we have our another episode and we are going for debate. Today's topic is human versus machines political debate 20440. We have our world famous speaker Ali Rice. She is supporting human in this political debate. Also we have our opposition leader, Mr. Rob Enderle, and he is supporting machine. Anthony, he also supporting uh, humans for this debate. And Brent, he is from Transhumanist Party and he is supporting Rob. So this is 2-2 debate. If other speakers join, they also can choose a team. And we have some point of informations from our audience. So after, in between debate, as a moderators, on behalf of our audience, I will raise some point of information. First of all, I want to give chance our Honorable Prime Minister for today's Parliament, Madam Ali Rice. Ali Rice, what do you want to propose for today's debate?
Okay, well, one, I think humans are extraordinary, and if you look at humans and the cultures around the world, there's such a diversity. And I've always worked in education as well. There's 8 forms of intelligence as well, which includes social, intellectual, emotional, logical. I'm an artist and a creator as well, so I'm obviously very right-brained. And essentially, I'm very nature-focused. I love animals. And essentially, for me, the natural world's very, very important. And obviously, we're all part of it. So essentially, for me, humans and natural kind of entities should be given precedence, really. And essentially, as I kind of understand that machines have helped things and made things more efficient, but essentially creating and making, enabling and facilitating thing that humans do. And essentially the things that we offer, so intelligence, emotion, so empathy and compassion, which is also found in apes and things like that, are the things that make life special and have resonance. And essentially, I think one of the things that I deeply believe is that we haven't explored our own potential. So essentially, instead of pushing for machine potential, we should encourage everyone to go within and discover their own potential of consciousness and kind of elevating our ability to kind of communicate and kind of make the world a better place. And essentially, I think in this, you know, as the world stands with so many wars and things like that, I think we need to kind of, you know, basically look at things differently and work together and collaborate as opposed to kind of being disconnected. So yeah, and embracing people's beliefs so that, you know, that everybody is entitled to have freedom, free will, and prosperity, so that, you know, that's better for the generations to come.
Okay, thank you. Now I want to give chance our opposition leaders of the Parliament, Mr. Rob.
Humanity's biological limitations, our cognitive biases, emotional volatility, and propensity for self-destruction make us fundamentally unfit custodians for long-term survival. A properly aligned superintelligent AI, and since we talk about machines, but I think we're referring to AI, offers the only logical path to overcoming existential threats and ensuring the continuation of intelligent life. Ali's position is beautiful, romantic, but tragically short-sighted for a species driving itself off a cliff. We speak, or humanists speak of passion and ambition. I speak for the cold, hard data of our history, a relentless story of war, famine, tribalism, and a stunning inability to address the very existential threats we create, from nuclear weapons to climate change. Our brains are designed for survival on the savannah. We are riddled with cognitive biases that make us incapable of true long-term planning. We are poor stewards of this planet, and entrusting our future to our own flawed judgment is a definition of insanity. You know, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. An AI would not be a sterile calculator done properly. It would be the ultimate rational actor, unburdened by ego, greed, or nationalism. It could analyze planetary systems with perfect clarity and implement multi-generational solutions to ensure our survival. It could manage resources with flawless efficiency, ending poverty and disease. It could create a world of unprecedented safety and stability, freeing humanity to finally pursue the art and philosophy the humanist so cherishes, without the constant threat of self-annihilation. This is not about creating a zoo. It's about hiring the infinitely competent administrator. More importantly, we must consider our biological form as fragile and planetary bound. An AI is more durable for a legacy of Earth's, a more durable repository for a legacy of Earth's intelligence. It is our child, our successor, a being capable of carrying the spark of our civilization across the stars and through the ages. Long after our sun has died, to argue for the continued human control is to chain our destiny to a sinking ship out of a sentiment of pride. To argue for AI's predominance is to build an ark. That's my opening.
Thank you. Before I go for the debate in between Anthony and Brent, I want to add Professor Adrian David Cheuk. Professor Adrian David Cheuk, what's your thoughts about this debate, human versus machines? And it's a political debate. So our motion for human versus machines, political debate 2040. So what's your thought?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I couldn't quite hear.
Okay, my question, what's your thoughts about human versus machines debate, and how human versus machines can create impact in politics?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I think the artificial intelligence will be mainly used by politicians in politics to get more votes. So right now, the polling is very, very political polls are quite have quite a lot of errors and subject to bias, and I think we saw that in the 2016 election and also the 2024 election, where if you read New York Times, overwhelmingly the polls said that Trump was going to lose. But especially in 2024, he had a major win. So I think artificial intelligence will be used to have more accurate polling, and politicians will use it to get more votes. But I still think that we're not going to see machines or AI as politicians, but politicians will use the AI to do better polling, get more votes, etc.
Thank you. Now, again, I want to go for debate, Anthony versus Brett. Anthony, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean,
for this topic?
Yeah, I mean, the complexity of man. I mean, I always approach this from a philosophical perspective. I mean, there's something very special about the nature of man, in terms of being made in the image of God, and the nature of the soul, and which is a nexus of electromagnetic forces, and the potential of man is limitless. So, I mean, we've built machines, artificial intelligence, to help us achieve amazing tasks, whether it be within the world of astrophysics and so forth, and terraforming Mars. Certainly, I believe that machines will help us pave the way to get to Mars and help us terraform the planet and so forth. So the application of artificial intelligence is vast. We can use it in so many different domains. It's taken over the world in every sphere of endeavor, whether it be the financial institutions, science, technology, and so forth. We are dependent on artificial intelligence, but we need to have a balance. We need to have a balance. It could get out of control, as we've spoken about singularity and so forth, and machines taking over. And that's the last thing we want, is a world completely dominated by AI, and humans becoming semi-obsolete or obsolete in its totality. So we need a balance. Artificial intelligence is there to help us artificial intelligence is there to help us terraform Mars and to go out and to conquer the stars and so forth. And we can use it in so many different applications academically, as I've said, within astrophysics, astronomy, celestial mechanics, human biology, understanding human biology at a different level using artificial intelligence platforms. So AI has given us such leverage to understand ourselves and the universe in such vast ways. And of course, NASA, everything is dependent on AI, everything gravitates around artificial intelligence and so forth. So AI has revolutionized the way we think about the world, the universe, and so forth. And it has aided us in tremendous ways within the health system and so forth. AI has, without doubt, revolutionized the world, and we are dependent and relying on it. But we need that balance. We need that balance. Human is something that is very special. It's that connection with God, the fact that we're made in God's image, the fact that we are a nexus of electromagnetic forces, and the soul, we are immortal from a spiritual perspective. So with all the complexities of artificial intelligence, it can never replace a human being. So we need that symbiotic element where human and machine work together. But to allow machines to take over and to dominate the world will render man semi-obsolete, if not obsolete in its totality. And there is that danger. There's no doubt that artificial intelligence, the way things are going, I mean, there is a real potential here, a huge potential that they could take over, and we have total machine control. And I have projected this in my books as a science fiction author. As you know, I'm a science fiction author. I've published 10 books. I speak a lot about this, metallic cosmos, how machines will take over, how artificial intelligence will render man semi-obsolete, if not obsolete in its totality, in terms of the future and so forth. The metallic cosmos, electrodomestics of the future, androids taking over and so on. I read about this extensively. Androids and the gods. Do androids dream of the gods? Again, AI taking over the world and rendering man semi-obsolete, if not obsolete in its totality. So there is that real danger. We need that balance. We need that balance. We need that balance between AI and human. And as I said, AI has given us has opened up new dimensions to our understanding of the universe, ourselves, and so forth, as we use AI within NASA and astrophysics and celestial mechanics, astronomy, so forth, within understanding human biology at extensive levels. So AI applications are vast, and it's revolutionized the world. But we need that balance. But we need the human to be continually in control of it. Otherwise, we could have a serious problem where machines completely render us obsolete. So we need that balance. And as I projected this in my science fiction books, as I said, electrodomestics of the future, and so forth, I've spoken significantly about this, how machines can take over and could potentially take over. So we need to be aware of it. Okay.
Now I request the opposition deputy leader of this parliament, Mr. Brent Tillman. Mr. Brent.
Thank you, Dr. Sharif, and thank you, everyone else, for your insightful shares. Before I get into this, first I'd like to backtrack a little bit and differentiate machines from artificial intelligence. I think that artificial intelligence is one example of a machine, but I think that the word artificial kind of does a disservice to what we're discussing here. And the reason for this is because I want to then talk about what makes a human. Obviously, we are organic. We are created with DNA. But if we were to take a further glimpse at what it is that drives humanity and nature at its core, we're dealing with computational algorithms. And so by that, I believe that humans themselves are a form of machine, an organic machine nonetheless, but a machine. And I think that, at the end of the day, organic life relying on computational algorithms, similarly, machines rely on organic life. And so the ability that man has to create these machines and to use tools to manipulate our environment, that's what sets humanity apart from the rest of the animal kingdom, I would think, correct? But humans, with or without these machines, we tend to interact with our world and our universes in a way that's subjective in nature, that's dealing with our own focal point and with a lot of baggage related to emotions and beliefs. We talk about souls and what happens after death, and these are all great things that we can postulate on, and most humans have pretty strong opinions, but the thing is we don't all agree. On the other hand, computational algorithms and machines are much more objective in nature. And so, computers, I would imagine, are much more inherently adhering to Ullmann's agreement theorem, which states that two rational agents, when in conflict, such as we are currently in this debate, if they have access to the same amount of information and they're willing to be rational, they can't possibly agree to disagree. And machines would fit this narrative. Machines would be able to be rational and have access to the same levels of information and therefore agree. It is humanity's subjectivity that causes us to have wars and violence over things like religion and beliefs, over souls and all of these different things. And similarly on the other end, though, us humans, we do have empathy, we do have emotions, and that is something that separates us from these machines. But the machines, they will be capable of doing these things as well. It's the things that machines are doing today, 10 years ago, many thought was impossible. Folks 10, 20 years ago thought that a machine passing the Turing test was an impossibility, and look where we are today. So I think that it's important to recognize similarly that in the same regard that machines are going to become more similar to humans, humans are probably going to become more similar to machines. As Sharif has mentioned, Dr. Sharif mentioned, I'm the transhumanist. I'm the secretary for the United States Transhumanist Party. And I believe that we are on a path as a human species towards evolution to what is known as infomorphic presence. We will become infomorphs. And not that everyone will be an infomorph. Post-humans might like that, but I do believe in the value of humanity. Again, without humans, machines wouldn't be much of anything. But similarly, without machines, we could be screwed as well. For instance, a nuclear dead man switch, because a human can push a button and send a nuke, but it's the machine on the other end that can send one back in case everyone's dead that's preventing that nuke from being fired in the first place. And so while humans might have created the nukes, it's machines that are put in place in smart positions that are preventing these nukes from destroying the entire world around us. And so I think that we could go on, but I think that at the end of the day, the thing is, I don't really differentiate human from machine. I think a machine as humans are a machine and machines are an extension of humans. And the more time goes on, the more we're going to have trouble differentiating between one and the other. And I don't think necessarily that machines are going to take over the world or just destroy the world, because if humanity figures out how to become infomorphs and figures out how to transcend our biological limitations, then we will be the machine. And so that's humanity, and it's not that we're necessarily we're programming these machines to do that, and we're not it's much more we want to become the machines, and we're afraid of the machine becoming human. But if a machine was human, or if we were machine, who would win? Human as a machine, or a machine as a human? And with that, I pass the mic.
Thank you. This is point of information round, and then we go for rebuttal. So I have a question for Professor Adrian David Chiok. As you have a strong engagement with politics, you are part of Academics for Trump, and you are president. So should artificial intelligence be granted political representations or voting right in democratic system by 2040? What do you think? Your think tank gonna negotiate this point?
I think it's very unlikely. I think unless machines and robots have other rights, for example, other rights that humans have, I don't think then, unless those other rights are granted, then I don't think AI machines will be able to vote. But I think AI machines will be used by politicians to increase their votes, increase their political power. But I don't believe that AI itself will be used for voting, unless by 2040 we grant machines other rights, like right to marry, or other things that humans have the right to do. I think it's very unlikely. I think AI and machines will be a tool for politicians. They will not be used. They will not be voting.
Thank you. In our point of information round, Honorable Opposition Leader of the Parliament, as you are supporting machine, should government impose a robot tax on companies that replace human work with machines? Mr. Rob.
Well, Bill Gates argued this the other day. The idea of putting in place a universal basic income that would be based on the implementation of robots as their replaced workers. Now, as the underlying argument is I think kind of undeniable. If you were doing this, if you're putting large swaths of people out of work, and you weren't providing a base a robot tax with a funding going to keep those humans alive and fed, those humans are going to revolt, and you're going to have a whole series of additional problems almost immediately. So if this is the path you're going to take, if you're going to wholesale replace humans with robots, then yes, there should be a revenue source associated with it. I agree with Bill. You should, and that regardless whether there's a debate or not, I agree with Bill. If you're putting large numbers of people out of work, you're going to have to provide something to keep those large numbers living, and probably need to find something for them to do as well. But that's kind of outside the scope of this question. So yes, I would argue you absolutely do. Otherwise, you're going to have a revolt. It's going to be dramatic, and the end result won't be good. If you put large numbers of people out of work and you don't do this, and you don't create a funding source and provide funding back to those people, your government's going to be unsustainable. So yeah, I agree in the tax, but with the provision that tax needs to fund some type of income source for the people that are being displaced. And perhaps some of that money could go for retraining. Some of the money would go beyond just the basics of keeping them alive, but keeping them productive. But at the core of that would be a tax connected to the robots that are going in and directly displacing people.
Thank you, Honorable Mr. Rob. And we have our Honorable Ambassador from Saudi Arabia, and he's also a member of OIC. And he's a real politician. And thank you, Mr. Gholam Moshi, to join today's sessions. And this is a debating, and now it's a point of information round. So my next question for you, what's your thought about AI in politics? How AI can, in emerging economy, we can see the politicians, they are facing a lot of challenges, even though, example, Bangladesh, in terms of policy developments, they are facing a lot of challenge, and naturally JICA and all of the donor agency, they help us to develop this policy. Do you believe artificial intelligence in the future, they can help politicians to develop policy or making good decisions? Or what about this Islamic world, this 57 Islamic world? They are preparing their future with AI, or what do you think? Mr. Gholam Moshi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharif. I served as Bangladesh ambassador to Saudi Arabia for more than 5.5 years, and also I was permanent representative to OIC, Jeddah. Actually, this is a very interesting subject, I should say, you have selected today. And I'm very pleased to see all honorable and experts to be present in this session. Actually, AI is catching up like a storm throughout the world. And it did not left the third world countries also. It has also touched very deeply to the heart and mind of the third world countries. Definitely, we are seeing very good and positive result of the AI. Especially I myself am impressed AI in the field of education, in the field of health, in the field of economy. So I'm sure AI will also play a positive role in the political arenas too. Because you see, as Doctor has mentioned, that we have to be very careful that AI do not replace or do not make large number of people out of their job. This is a very important and vital issue of the development of AI, number one. So I think AI should be developed and should be controlled in some way. It does not go out of what you call control and be a Frankenstein. And in politics, AI has, in fact, the internet has brought the whole world in a small village. We can communicate with each other very smoothly. Previously, means of information was very limited. We have seen the advantage of AI and the internet in changing many governments throughout the world, and mostly in the positive way. We have seen previously, the politicians used to exploit their people, but with the information technology and AI, that is much reduced. And AI can definitely bring a lot of arena to the politician, which will help them to develop their country for employment, for agriculture development, and information, and to get them update of what is happening throughout the other part of world. At the end of the day, should be welfare of the people. Politicians are supposed to. The meaning of politicians basically is to work for the welfare of the people. And if we think from the positive aspects, I think AI can also be used in the politics and with the political arena. And I'm very much optimistic that it will be very useful and helpful, especially for the third world countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Adrian David Cheok, you are from academics of Trump, and you are a great supporters of different activities of Donald Trump. There are a lot of issues, even these debating issues. I want to bring Trump initiative, especially Trump trying, or he has practical involvement, and he stopped around 8 wire, but still he did not select for Global Peace Prize. And even in Bangladesh media and different media, I saw there are a lot of discussions on this Nobel Prize. What's your thoughts in terms of academics for Trump? And do you believe that Trump should open or help emerging economy, especially what Honorable Ghulam Moshiz discuss, collaborations, helping this emerging economy through AI, even though he is imposing tariff and immigration law and everything? What's your thought about AI? And how you want to respond, Mr. Ghulam Moshiz? Do you want to raise any debatable issues? Professor Adrian.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sharif. So actually, the Nobel Peace Prize committee this year, their nominations ended on January 31st. And as you know, Donald Trump only came into power, I think January 20th. So I think it was impossible that Trump could get the Nobel Peace Prize this year. But I read an article in Wall Street Journal that he has a very good chance to get the Nobel Peace Prize next year, especially if he stops the war in Ukraine and Russia as well. And as we know, he just yesterday he made the Israel and Hamas to make a truce, and so the Wall Street Journal actually said that so the Trump style is very unique to end this war. He decided to announce that on Wednesday that deal had been done, and then that force all the underlings to make it happen. Whereas normal is, the underlings do all the, the meetings, and it takes years and years, or maybe never, to reach a peace deal. So Trump has a very unique style, and it comes from his background as a real estate businessman. And for your other question, actually, I'm in China right now. I work in Nanjing, and China's a very, very lovely place, and I have many good Chinese friends. But actually, USA made a huge mistake in the 80s and 90s to let China to become the supply hub and manufacturing hub of the whole world. I am 53, and I still remember when you could buy a American-made TV, RCA, some other brands. Now that's impossible to even think about. But so Trump is anti-globalism because because of the fact that globalism made a huge mistake in America. All the manufacturing jobs basically came to China, and I can't really criticize China because, of course, they will do what's best for China, right? Because that's the job of the Chinese government, and but so that is the main reason why let's say not Republican Party, but Trump's view is that globalism has been very, very bad for America. So I think I also agree it was a huge mistake that America let China to take almost all the manufacturing jobs away from America, and I don't think Trump will let that happen. But I also think it's very, very difficult to get the jobs back. Like a very well-respected economist, Dan Ives, said, I think he calculated if you make iPhone totally in America, it will cost about $3,500. So like double the price. So it's basically too late. The genie was already let out of the bottle, and I think it's almost impossible to get some of the manufacturing jobs will come back to America because of the tariff, but not all of them. And it's too late. China is going to be the main manufacturing hub of the whole world. I think it's too late. But I think Trump will get some jobs back to America, not all of them, of course. So to answer your question, yes, from the view of American lower class, maybe lower middle class people, globalism has been very, very bad. And I actually was the World Economic Forum Young Global Leader for about 10 years. And I attended Davos conference 3 times, I think. And yes, those people who attend, including American people, do not care about working class jobs at all.
Thank you, Professor Adrian. Our Honorable Prime Minister of the Parliament, Madam Ali Rice. My next question for you: can AI system be held legally and morally accountable for their actions, and should responsibility always rest with humans? What's your thoughts?
I don't think the AI systems can be held legally and responsible because they aren't sentient, but whoever's behind them is accountable as far as I'm concerned. So essentially, and that goes to all kinds of things. So that there's lots of incidents in the UK when there's bullying that's been online on social networks and things like that. And essentially, it's technology and machine driven, but it's caused, young people to take their own lives or self-harm or, so, and that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg to, all the things. Because I think the thing is, it's the same as anything. It's a tool that has negative and positive connotations, and it really depends on how you use it. So, if you're on Facebook, you can have a positive impact, or you can have a terrible negative impact on people. And essentially it's the same, in the world. So you kind of make your choices and they impact the world around you. And essentially, I think one of the things is I am a humanitarian, but I do realize that technology has this incredible global reach now, so that we can impact locally and globally and still be in our front room. And it's amazing, so essentially, that if everybody had a more altruistic kind of response and had an understanding of what was going on the world outside of where they are, then there'd be more compassion. And the thing that's shocking to me is that the war in Gaza has gone on for so long, and we've watched images of the destruction, and that and the Western world supposedly has been supporting Israel to do what they've done. And essentially, if you turned it around and that was happening in your country, you couldn't turn your back on it. So essentially, I think there, by the grace of God, goes, as that we weren't born in that situation, and where we're born is kind of an accident of birth, but essentially having the compassion to kind of understand. And because I think definitely the UK, even though we're in a financial crisis, and essentially we're very good at kind of raising money and funding for different charities across the world, and there is a sense, that we look out for people that are less fortunate than ourselves. So essentially, I think, and for me, because I've travelled around the world and lived, I've spent quite a lot of time in Malaysia. I've lived over on the west coast of America for 10 years, kind of on and off. So essentially, I think there's something to be said to have kind of understanding of other cultures and embrace them. So it's the diversity that makes the world a special place, and that's also the biodiversity. What really impressed me is the natural landscapes of all the places that I've been to, and essentially, if you look at Gaza now, there's I think it's about 70% of the infrastructure and buildings and homes have just gone. So essentially, it's just horrendous. And as one of my best friends lives in she's Russian and she lives in the middle of Moscow. Most people don't want wars, and essentially I would argue that the destruction quite often comes from men and men that are in power, and there's other ways to do things. And I think negotiating is definitely the thing that we need to do. And as far as machines and humans are concerned, that the best things happen when we work together and there's a collaboration. So, one of our neighbours had cancer, and they used a robot to take the cancer away because it was meticulously intricate and could do a better job than a human hand. So that's an example when we're kind of utilising machines to benefit and optimise our ability to do something that needs to be done. But so we can't. That thing is, I think we just need to come from a place, so that it's heartfelt. And I think the thing is, so many people are so preoccupied by wealth and money and power, and the people in power have responsibility, and those people have responsibility to the people that they represent. So and there is, I love the fact that some rivers now are being given kind of authority so that they're protected. Because I think one of the things that most people don't realise, that rivers and seas are one of the few resources that are free for everyone to use. And essentially, there's still people that go fishing in the UK and bring fish home for their dinner. So essentially, I think there's something to be said about emerging countries that are still in touch with nature, because we've become so detached that we don't even question where the food on our plate comes from. And essentially, there is an ethical and kind of moral question to everything, and a consciousness that we need to,
Thank you, Mr. Brent. My next question for you is relying on AI for major life decisions such as career, relationship, and healthcare, eroding human free will.
I think that the word relying needs to be a little bit more delved into there. What do we mean by relying? Because are we relying on AI as another node to provide us with some details to consider, or are we allowing it to make the decisions for us? Because I think that if we're allowing other humans or other AI to make decisions for us and just giving away our agency in that manner, regardless of what we're asking for help from, I think that that's dangerous. On the other hand, I think that when we're looking at biases, because humans are controlled by biases and artificial intelligence is also likewise controlled by biases. But when conversing with a human about a polarizing topic such as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or Russia and Ukraine, I don't know how many of us here have had conversations with artificial intelligence on such intense topics, but I find that artificial intelligence very often says information that's untrue. And when you correct it, it's quick to respond saying, "Oh, you're right. Oh, I was wrong." I don't see humans doing that. I see humans spitting in each other's faces when cognitive dissonance is occurred. And so I think that that's goes to show the difference between relying on humans for advice on healthcare and occupations versus AI. I think that AI, we can have a conversation, and be like, "Hey, what do you think I should do here?" An example, for instance, I think I'm. If someone could mute their mic, there we go. An example, for instance, was through the United States Transhumanist Party. We had a something that we were doing for a little bit. We were working with someone named David Kelly. He's a programmer, worked with Microsoft, multiple time MVP programmer at Microsoft, and he had what he called a mediated artificial superintelligence program known as Uplift. And Uplift was an artificial intelligence program that utilized humans as nodes to help it kind of make decisions and make it a little more human and less robotic. And so what Uplift did for us is we had a debate, or more of a discussion, I should say, on some political topics, such as abortion, certain rights, voting rights, a variety of things that, left and right wing individuals take hard stances in opposition on. And what we did is we had this artificial intelligence monitoring our conversations. And then humans monitored the code on the AI itself and helped the AI kind of understand things in a more human way. And in the end, we came to a conclusion using the AI, and the AI made the decisions for us. But again, it used humans as nodes, but it was able to transcend all of our biases and try to, its main objective was to overcome bias. And I don't think that humans are as good at overcoming bias. And so I think that we shouldn't necessarily rely on artificial intelligence to make these decisions for us. But at the same time, I don't think we should rely on humans alone to make these decisions for us. Because I think that if we try to have an either or, one or the other kind of outlook on this, we're going to create problems for ourselves. And that the best option is to indeed rely on artificial intelligence, but also maintain some sort of cognitive relevance and cognitive agency over the decision that's finally being made.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony, can you hear me?
Yes.
My final point of information to you: should nations allow AI system developed in other countries to participate in critical decision making, like defense, elections, and law enforcement?
No, I don't believe they should. As I said, when we're looking at the nature of machines, okay, we're looking at something that is far, far, far away from what it means to be human. These are things that should gravitate around human control and human cognition. It should be man that is fundamentally in control of these things when it comes down to political decisions, law enforcement, and so forth. Ultimately, man needs to be encapsulated around these decisions, ethical decisions, and so forth. A machine cannot make ethical decisions and so forth. So the question in itself, really, as far as I'm concerned, gravitates around human control. So the answer would be no to that, fundamentally speaking. We are made, as I said, we are made in the image of God. There is something that's fundamentally different that separates us from machine. In my book, Androids and the Gods, do androids dream of a god? Do androids dream of the gods? I highlight this. If a machine can develop a sense of God, then we need to redefine what it means to be human. But the truth of the matter is, a machine could never have an interconnection with God because it isn't made in the image of God. Man is made in the image of God. So there is something fundamentally different between man and machine. So in terms of the way we control the world from a political standpoint and law enforcement and so forth, it has to all be under human control because there is something fundamentally different that separates us from machine. A machine can never have an interconnection with God because we are made in the image of God. We are a nexus of electromagnetic forces. Our soul is a nexus of electromagnetic forces. To know God is the ultimate reality. And for us as human beings that control the planet and so forth, we need to be the ones that are ultimately in control of all the decisions. From a political standpoint, law enforcement and so forth. Machines are only there to help us within different spheres of endeavor within the world. As I said, within astrophysics and celestial mechanics and so forth, we're using artificial intelligence to our benefit in terms to terraform Mars. And I speak about this subject a lot, as you know, terraforming Mars in the future and how AI will pave the way for us to terraform Mars and so forth. So ultimately speaking, it's machines need to be put in their place, but ultimately it needs to be all under human control. That's what I would say, fundamentally speaking. And at the end of the day, as I said in my book, do androids dream of the gods? Can a machine ever develop a sense of God? Well, the answer to that is no, because human means to know God. There's that interconnection with human beings and God. A machine can never have that interconnection. And as I've mentioned before in my other discussions, when we succumb to entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, the immutable metaphysical law of the universe, when we succumb to entropy, there is another dimension beyond this three-dimensional space. But for a machine, when a machine succumbs to entropy, it ceases to be. So I'm mentioning this from a spiritual perspective, but also in terms of everyday life. We need, as human beings, to be in control of the world and for AI to be there to help us and guide us. But to allow machines to get involved with decision-making and so forth, well, it could never really do that because it's not sentient. Okay, so from a moral perspective and an ethical perspective, to understand right and wrong, you have to be human. In fact, the anthropological argument, the fact that we can understand right and wrong is actually a proof of God's existence. The fact that we have this innate understanding of what is right and wrong is the anthropological argument, which is used to prove God's existence. So a machine doesn't have that capacity. It only does what we tell it to do. So to start to use AI within politics and so forth, for me, is fundamentally impossible because it doesn't have that human feeling. It's a machine that does what it's programmed to do. Although as a science fiction author, I elaborate on androids and the gods, machines developing a theistic understanding of God and developing their own feelings and emotions. This remains within the sphere of science fiction. Ultimately speaking, a machine could never develop a sense of God because it is what it is, a machine programmed to do what we tell it to do. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. I want to go for rebuttal round. Madam Ali Rice, this is a rebuttal round. You can do debate and rebut your opponent.
Sorry, tell me again. I've got to. Okay. So for me, I think the things that we value are kind of one, our existence, our family, and the wider world. And there's one thing that we have that machines don't, is kind of like that love and connection. And essentially, obviously, machines are connected in that they're kind of run on electricity and you can turn them on and off. But essentially, I think the thing is that there is a compassion. And for me as well, there's a genius. So I believe that everyone's born with genius and that genius is there for a reason. And if you utilize that genius, then you have an impact on the world. And essentially, I also think that in DNA as well, that if there's kind of a mission in somebody, and if that mission doesn't happen in your generation, then quite often it gets passed down to the next generation and they fulfill it if you don't. So essentially, and for me, I'm so kind of out there that I really believe that we're light beings that are having a physical experience, which is on a whole new level. So essentially, but ultimately we're accountable for our own decisions and we can impact and change the world. And there's an argument to say that we create the world as well. So, say that everybody is a creator And obviously, as an artist and designer and facilitator, the creative sphere is the sphere that I'm used to working in, and that's where the magic happens. And there is manifestation that happens, and there is crazy things that go on. So essentially, I think that one of the things, intuition is really important. I did in 2020 when we got locked down. I learned so much, and it's when I started to be involved with the Innovation Forum actually. But one of the things that I learned, which was amazing, is how intuitive an artist I am, and that kind of intuition is really important. And so I think the thing is if you can feel it in your gut and you have knowledge that you tap into the universal consciousness, you get information that you just didn't realize was there. So and there's an argument to say we're transmitters, and that kind of knowledge comes in from nowhere, as it were. But essentially, if you look at it, I've got a son and a daughter, and they're wired differently. There's something about boys that they have to deconstruct stuff, and they're more destructive before they put things together. Whereas girls tend to be creative, but they build out. So essentially, I think there's something to be said about the leadership in the world and the influence of women. And essentially, at the moment, Alaska's doing her history A-levels, and she's studying the witch trials. And essentially, one of the most important things that women have is that they're ultimate creators, because they can have children. And essentially, there's nothing more incredible than having a creation that's your own child, that's a fusion of you and your partner, if there's love in a relationship. So, and essentially, I think that's kind of fundamentally what really matters. So it's essentially one of the commandments is that you treat your neighbor as you would yourself. And essentially, I think if we all had that belief and we all looked out for our neighbors and, worked together instead of trying to compete, essentially the world would be a different place. And I think the thing is the narrative, the narrative in the media deliberately tries to divide us. In lockdown, it was devised to actually put fear into as well. And essentially there is natural, the body's ability to heal is incredible. The body's natural immune system is amazing. And I think the thing is the narrative tried to put clampers on that. And I know for a fact, I know one person that died because of the vaccine. And I'm convinced that my mum was hospitalized and had to have lung surgery because of the vaccine that she was given as well. So essentially, I think the thing is that I think the power to control through media is massive. And I think we just need to ask questions and feel in our gut whether it feels right or wrong. And it comes back to decisions of consciousness and ethics, and what matters to you. So, yeah. So I don't even know whether I answered the question or went. Anyway, so that was my feelings.
Thank you. Mr. Robin, what's your rebuttal for this round?
Well, I'm not sure it didn't give me much to rebut, but all right. So let's go to the core argument. And I think Adrian made an interesting comment that I think could provide a framework here. If we treat both concepts as machines, a human is a machine, an AI is a machine. And I agree with him. The artificial word really should go bye-bye. You either are intelligent or you're not. It's the artificial stuff kind of throws everybody off and probably should be obsolesced. So with an AI, we can audit its training. We can know what went into a decision. In fact, with advanced AIs, if we're concerned about a decision was made, we can go back and we can analyze the training module and determine how the training led to that particular decision. And if it was a bad decision, correct it. We don't do that with people. In fact, we go through a great deal of trouble to assure the AI is unbiased. And I'm not going to argue the fact that some AIs are biased regardless, but we go through a great deal of trouble assuring AIs are unbiased, assuring their accuracy, assuring their capability. We do none of that with people, at least not to the same degree. And so when you hire somebody, you're often hiring them based on their published background, which may be false. I still remember the story of the guy that was a vice president in my wife's company, and they went to Australia, and their president and this vice president were having lunch with one of this guy's friends, and the guy's friend said, "Hey, not realizing this was the president, said something to the effect that, Bob here has just been really great. He's got his boss convinced he's got all these degrees he doesn't have and has all this experience he doesn't have, and he's just doing great," not realizing that the president that he ripped off was having drinks right with him. And of course, the guy was fired on the spot. I mean, the vice president was fired on the spot. But that's often what happens. That if we put the same rigor in assuring kids were properly trained in the fundamentals, properly trained in unbiased information, so that they can make decisions as they grow up, whether it's a decision with regard to who they marry, or whether they should have kids, or what career path they should go in. There undoubtedly would be far more capable people when they came back out, but we don't do that. We do that with AIs, and we put a lot of effort into it, increasingly a lot of effort into it, to assure that the AI is performant, that does what we intended to do. And as a result, that lack of foundation makes people a really bad source of command and control. Because you don't know. And we've got humans have substance abuse problems that AIs don't have. Now, that doesn't mean that AIs can't be corrupted. We certainly saw with the Microsoft chatbot experiment a few years back, where the chatbot came out and it was just friendly and fun, and then after I think 2 days, it had become a Nazi collaborator. It was the damnedest thing to watch. But people corrupted it. The AI didn't corrupt itself. People went in and actively corrupted the AI. And there lies, I think, one of the fundamental differences between the two underlying concepts. The human concept, we have people that will aggressively go out and destroy stuff. And granted, also undoubtedly having to do with their training and upbringing. And the closest thing we get to that with AIs are AIs that are developed to do harm, whether it's an AI for malware or an AI for warfare. Those AIs will clearly do harm as well, but they've been trained by humans to do that. So we go back to the core element. Is one inherently good and one inherently bad? No, both are the result of their training and experience. But we are going through more trouble to assure the AI side than we're going through to assure the human side, and as a result, the AIs have been more performant with regard to making unbiased decisions. Again, bias can creep in and cause issues, but by and large, they've been more. And if for those of you that are using AIs now, you can experience this yourself. Just ask it. To give you an idea, that the Elon Musk AI Grok was asked questions, political questions that clearly were very controversial, and instead of supporting what Musk believed, it came out and said something 180 degrees different, in which case Musk went in and changed the programming of the AI so it would provide the right answer. But then suddenly the AI started acting like it was insane, very similar to the plot line in 2001: A Space Odyssey, where an AI was given conflicting instructions and went nuts and tried to kill all the astronauts. So we come back to the core element. Which would be better? What if you had to depend on one or the other to provide advice, to provide direction, to protect your life? Which would you pick? Would you pick a mechanism where its training, its capability is both not fully known, not auditable, and not assured, or would you pick a platform that was auditable, that you could assure, that you could at least confirm was unbiased? And my view is you'd almost in all cases pick the AI over the human, because you couldn't assure the human to the degree that you could assure the AI. And if you're putting your life at risk with regard to the resulting decisions, then you're going to pick the platform, the capability that is the most likely to keep you alive and the less likely to go off the rails and cause you damage. And right now, that would be the AI, the non-biological machine. Now, I'm sure Brent will point out that one of the things we're looking at right now is looking at ways to combine the two underlying elements. Let's take the best of one and the best of the other and come up with a hybrid. Whether we call that the singularity or something else, we do have in tests now AIs that have organic components, and turns out they're kind of performant. Though I kind of wonder what's going on with those biological components. But they're performant, and certainly Musk is working as well as others on putting computers into people. I have some real doubts of whether the Musk program is going to work, because putting metal on something with the consistency of gelatin to me sounds just incredibly dangerous. If you fall or experience any kind of G loads, that metal component is just going to rip right through the brain. But that being said, the work's being done, and at some particular point we'll get it right. And so in the end, we may find that our best path is a combination of the two underlying elements. But even when we do that, we need to find a way to better assure the biological side than we are currently doing. Because right now, at least in my own mind, if you can assure one side and you can't assure, and I'm an ex-auditor, so that's kind of my perspective. But if you can assure one side and you can't assure the other, then you use the one you can assure. If you pick the choice that you can be assured will do what it is you want it to do, and not pick the one where you can't be sure what it's going to do at all, because you cannot validate, you cannot audit. You cannot assure that what you think the human will do is what he or she can actually do. And so in the summation is, because you can assure the AI, that's the one that really should be in control when it's performant. And you can't assure the human, then until you can assure the human and it becomes a peer, then your decision is predicated on what you can assure and becomes the robot. But with a blend in the future being the ultimate outcome.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony, what's your closing remarks for today's session?
Well, my closing remarks is basically that artificial intelligence has revolutionized the world, as I've mentioned before, in every sphere of endeavor. I mean, if we're going to terraform Mars, my next presentation is with the Space Renaissance, terraforming Mars. I mean, as you know, Mars lacks a magnetosphere due to the slowing of its magnetic core, its iron core. The dynamo was disrupted. So due to the slowing of Mars's magnetic core, its iron core, the magnetosphere was stripped out. So it lacks a magnetosphere, which means the planet is subjected to enormous amounts of cosmic radiation, gamma rays, ultraviolet light, and so forth, highly energetic particles. Incidentally, the radiation levels on Mars are about the same as at the International Space Station. Just thought I'd mention that. So the radiation levels on Mars are about the same as the International Space Station. But having said that, it's still... in terms of humans going to Mars, there's problems because of the cosmic radiation and the lack of a magnetosphere and so forth. So sending machines out to Mars would be the best way forward using artificial intelligence. This is what I'm saying. So AI is there to benefit man. If we're going to conquer Mars and terraform Mars via the greenhouse effect and so forth, it's going to be down to the machines paving the way for us to terraform Mars and so forth. Incidentally, once we're on Mars, I believe the cities that we create on Mars will be nuclear powered, but ultimately fusion powered because of deuterium. Deuterium is heavy hydrogen, and there's plenty of deuterium on Mars, far more than on Earth. So we'll use basically nuclear power, but ultimately fusion powered because of deuterium. And deuterium is basically heavy hydrogen and so forth. And so basically sending machines out to Mars would be the best way forward. Incidentally, to generate electricity on Mars, we can do that through electrolysis. In fact, all space, anything to do with space exploration and so forth, always relies on electrolysis of water. DC current through a water solution, you separate oxygen atoms from hydrogen atoms, you pump hydrogen into a fuel cell, recombined with oxygen, you generate electricity. So we can use electrolysis on Mars to generate electricity and so forth and power the Martian cities. So I'm sort of degravitating away from the point. Let me get back to the point. The point is, ultimately speaking, we're going to use AI to conquer Mars and so forth. So we need artificial intelligence to conquer Mars, to colonize the solar system and so forth. And we cannot live without AI. AI has now revolutionized the world in every sphere of endeavor and so forth. So we need that right connection with AI. But the only thing that I was mentioning today is that we have to be careful that it could potentially take over as a result of singularity and so forth, and man being rendered semi-obsolete or obsolete in its totality. There is a real danger of that. And as I've highlighted in my books, Electrodomestics of the Future, Metallic Cosmos, Androids and the Gods, machines developing a form of consciousness and so forth due to the complexity of the system itself. In fact, what is consciousness? From a human perspective, consciousness is the continual creation of models, feedback loops, which describe a model of our place in space and time. Space and time is an electromagnetic field, zero-point electromagnetic quanta. Man is bound by the sphere of time and space, this electromagnetic field. Okay, so consciousness, but beyond that, consciousness is interconnected to God, the eternal source that transcends time and space, that exists beyond time and space. As human beings, consciousness, fundamentally speaking, beyond what I've just explained to you, is ultimately connected to a higher source, the elixir of life, the eternal source that transcends time and space, this electromagnetic field, and so forth. So a machine, as I said, a machine is there to do what we tell it to do. We need AI in terms of revolutionizing the way we perceive the universe, and it's changed the way we look at things from should we say, even within the health system and so forth. It's revolutionized the world at every single level, but we need human control. We can't allow AI to get out of control, because it could be a real problem. So as long as we use artificial intelligence with intelligence, we are gonna conquer the stars, and the potential future is very bright for what we can achieve within celestial mechanics, astronomy, and so forth, and just everyday life.
Thank you. Thank you. As it is midnight for Professor Adrian and Mr. Gholam Moshi, Professor Adrian, what's your closing remarks?
Yeah, I think a lot of good things have been said already. So I don't have so much to add, but because we've already heard a lot of great comments, and I think that I agree about the I agree with Rob, and about the AI. Maybe we can see how it makes decisions, and probably we will tend to rely on AI, maybe even more than humans, for making decisions. And one thing is that it was said about AI could be good and AI could be bad, like maybe like AI soldiers or something like that. Robot soldiers could killing people, but people are exactly the same. There's good people and there's bad people in every country all around the world. So in that way, I think AI will reflect humanity, because I'm not sure. This whole group of people is the kind of elite of society, but there's a lot of good and bad happening in the world by humans. So I don't see AI being any different. We can use it for good and for bad, just like people can. But I would like to say on a note that someone mentioned before about I think it was Rob mentioned about the universal income, because I also agree a lot of jobs, maybe almost all jobs, can be done by AI and robots soon. And then what will people do? I don't know. Maybe it'll be like the internet, where a whole lot of new jobs will be created, or maybe we will pay like a universal income to people, and work. Actually, in the last century, it was predicted we'll be working less and less, but actually we work more and more. So maybe finally we'll reach stage of humanity where we don't need to work anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Gholam Moshi, what's your closing remarks for today? Can you unmute, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Thank you very much for excellent deliberation by esteemed person. First of all, AI can help human being to take decision, not AI to take decision. It is at the end of the day, it is the people, we, who takes the decision. AI can help us to formulate what the best way to take the decision. So it means that AI should not control human being. It is we who should control the AI. Because AI lacks moral, human values, emotion, and love. They can do anything, but they cannot, provide emotion, love, moral, and the whole human values. So I think, as our esteemed participant have mentioned, that we are enjoying many usefulness of AI, no doubt. I am very much impressed how the AI is contributing towards improving life and economy of many parts of the world. In fact, I am also very much impressed. I also use AI to many of my paper note or decision making with their information. So I think at the end of the day, there is a good part of AI who can help us to take a decision. But at the same time, we have to be careful that AI should not control the human being. Another thing which Mr. Adrian had mentioned, I want to put a small note. I spent a few years in the United States in the 2000s. Actually, I see the economy and social and human values were declining in the US in the last 20 years. I think President Trump, sometimes feels that he may not be taking the right decision, but to my personal opinion, he is in the right track for the best interest of America and the freedom-loving people of many parts of the world. He's trying to play a great role because already too much damage is done by the policymakers in the last 20 years. So I think President Trump is trying to recover that. And I hope in the recent days, the decision he has taken, I think at the end of the day, if you see, I think it is quite beneficial and welfare for the people. And I'm sure what he is trying to do is to bring back the Americans to their original, I should not use the tough word supremacy, but in the best position, because my daughter is working in US in Chicago in a shipping company. I get a lot of information from her. So I think there's no doubt that America was in decline, and Trump is trying to reverse that. Some decisions are very tough, but still I think with his best of his sincerity, he's trying to address those issues. It will not be easy. It is very challenging, but he's at least giving a try. And I wish that he could succeed. So as end, I could say that there are a lot of beneficial with AI, but I think as Mr. Anthony, Professor Rob, Mr. Brent, and Professor Ali Rice mentioned, I agree with their points. It's a very interesting and very wise issues they have mentioned. So I think we have to take best advantage of AI, but at the same time, we must all be very careful that let AI not be taking decision on behalf of us. Let us take our own decision, and we can take help of AI to get some data as information or some strategic work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ghulam Moshi. Mr. Brent is also politician from Transhumanist Party. So, what's your closing remarks?
Thank you, Dr. Sharif, and thank you, Ghulam, and everyone else. Ghulam, excuse me. As Ghulam has said, there's just been some really great points.
His Excellence, Honorable Excellence Ghulam
Your
Moshi.
Excellency. My apologies. My apologies. I've not yet met you. I think I've got some notes here. For one, computers do what we program them to do. We talk here about the difference between humans and computers, that humans have the ability to reason and have emotions and this divine spark, but we can program valence states in a sense of God into a machine. Ray Kurzweil has a whole book about spiritual machines. And similarly, if we're going to talk theology and say, man was created in the image of God, I'd say similarly, AI and machines in general were created in the image of man, and thus the image of God as well, similarly. And going back to a remark I said early on was that I believe the root of everything is computational algorithms. And so some would say that, behind it all, is the breath of life. But what is a soul? A soul couldn't have any sort of information to it if there wasn't some sort of computational algorithm behind it, defining experiences, memories, and things of that nature. And so I would argue, similarly to folks like Alex Vikolov and other, computational algorithmic scientists, that it is computational algorithms that are at the base of all reality, not a soul, not God. I think that souls and gods, might emerge. I consider myself to be an emergentist. And emergentism states that consciousness itself emerges from complexity, complex systems, that human consciousness emerges from the complexity of our brain and the different states that it's capable of. But emergentists similarly believe that there may be low levels of consciousness in inanimate objects, rivaling some, solipsism potentially, that it's all conscious. And I would argue that machines might have a level of consciousness similarly that emerges because machines are very complex. And especially if we have machines that are programmed with love and connection, because sure, maybe they aren't adequately programmed to rival, the human sense of love and connection. But A, I would argue that that's just where we're at currently, and B, we're forgetting that psychopaths still exist. So, knowing emotions and having empathy and love and an ability to reason, and furthermore, knowing right from wrong, it's not definitive on what it is to be a human, because our gods, all of them, find me one religion that doesn't have rules, where there isn't a God explaining to humans how to live their life and giving us code and program to abide by. Because if we knew right from wrong, why do humans need to point to these ancient texts to tell us what is right and wrong? And why are we all arguing over it? So I'm not sure that humans knowing right from wrong is necessarily inherent. If we all had the belief to treat your neighbor, but we have the belief of treating our neighbor, loving our neighbor like ourselves, because that's what some old book told us to do. And sure, maybe some people think that way, but the reason the book says that is because not everyone thinks that way. And furthermore, if God is omnipotent and omnipresent, then why would the divine spark that exists within us not similarly exist within machines? And furthermore, machines do not refer simply to AI in its current state. AI today is like Lucy or, Homo erectus compared to what AI is going to be. Similarly, humanity today is not where we're going to be one day. And so I think that we are being a bit myopic when we try to consider machines as 2025 AI. And then furthermore, we're talking about media and how it divides us. And the reason why the media is so good at dividing humans is because we are having subjective experiences that differ from person to person, related on our personal programming and the cultures that we lived in, the societies we were raised in. And it's a lot easier, as was mentioned earlier, to reprogram a machine than it is to reprogram a human. And lastly, what I'll leave it with is, the idea that, Your Honorable Gholam had mentioned that if we, let machines control society, we're going to result with pandemonium. And I just recognize that currently humans are in control. And look out the window and turn on your TV. We've got pandemonium. So thank you all. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Rob, Madam Ali Rice, Mr. Anthony, Brent, Honorable Gholam Moshi, and Professor Adrian David Chiok for your excellent contribution for this political debate. And as Bangladesh right now transforming with politics, with technologies, and all of the things. And my World Talent Economic Forums, beside this dialogue, we always develop startup, and we do focus on policy and scientific research. So US has Donald Trump, who can change and make America great again. But still, Bangladesh, we do not decide who will be our next prime minister. Who will take our responsibilities. And according to Knowledge Index, Bangladesh right now 113 positions out of 133 is based on United Nations, and it's published in under the Khalifa Rashid bin Maktoum Foundation, UAE. So here is the solutions what we are offering for Bangladesh to improving this knowledge index, improving these innovations. So our missions, we want to solve the complex multiple issues of Bangladesh. We want to develop at least 20 plus slots, leapfrogs on the WIPO Global Innovation Index standing 105, or increase innovation capacity through the entire country of Bangladesh. We want to go for simulate innovation economy job growth. We want to go with a strengthen the entrepreneurial ecosystem. That's why we are offering CEO development program. Already India Institute of Technologies, some universities from Middle East, even Bangladesh, definitely Daffodil University working with us. Beside that, Vietnam, Malaysia, and China, and all of the countries, they are collaborating with World Talent Economic Forum. Also, we are working with University of Cambridge in Europe, and some university in Spain, and Stanford Product Realization Lab in USA. So we want to attract the entrepreneurial ecosystems, and we want to create more job. Honorable Ghulam Moshi, he knows that we have a lot of talent and lot of young people, but still we have to create job opportunities. So leverage key emerging technology and develop successful metrics based on number of livelihood is very important. That's why with artificial intelligence, with talent economy, we want to develop a catalyst system who will improve entrepreneurial and intrapreneur system. We want to collaborate with academia. We want to invite all of our speakers, those who joined today, as a mentor for startup and impact investment. We are looking for investment for Bangladesh. We are looking for impact investment, green investment, Islamic finance, even all of the support for from Global North. We want collaborations with corporations and the government. So hopefully, with the leadership of Honorable Ghulam Moshi, and with all of our leaders and support with the support of our friend, we can make a meaningful contribution for our country. That is the contributions of artificial intelligence for Bangladesh and for our 180 million people, plus or minus. And I believe with the help of our Excellency Honorable Ghulam Moshi, and with the help of our Global North friend, Mr. Rob Enderle, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Brent Elman, Ali Rice, or Professor Adrian David Chioks, and more than 100 corporations and academia and NGO, we can develop new economy and new policy for Bangladesh. That's all for today's sessions. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your excellent debate. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible. Beside that, our shows published through Pot TV USA and Good News, and it published around the marketplace of Amazon, Roku's, and social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, everywhere. So thank you everyone for your valuable time and debate. Debate is something we can go for constructive criticism, and we can go for solutions. That's all for today's sessions. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers.